like... Oh, yeah! Is it into the atmosphere? It's petrol. What she said. Petroleum.
It's biofuel made from organic material.
And for what?
What is this? It's a chemical that's not good for your car, but they put it in the petrol.
Like petrol, maybe? Yep,
really?
that's pretty much. What's ethanol? Okay, so it looks like a lot of people don't know what ethanol is, but not to worry. Ethanol is not something that you will find on the periodic table, but it is composed of elements on the periodic table. Ethanol, or C2H6O, is a clear, odorless, colourless liquid with a distinctive taste. It is also called ethyl alcohol, as it is the principal type of alcohol found in alcoholic beverages, produced by the fermentation of sugars by yeasts. So, how do we actually make this ethanol stuff? Let's backtrack a bit and have a look. Ethanol has been made since ancient times by the fermentation of sugars. All beverage ethanol and more than half of industrial ethanol is still made by this process today. Starch from potatoes, maize, and other cereals can be used as raw material. The yeast enzyme zymase changes the simple sugars into ethanol and carbon dioxide. The fermentation reaction is represented by this simple equation. To produce ethanol from sugarcane, the sugarcane must first be crushed up and fermented with yeast. During this process, the enzyme in the yeast breaks down the sugars from the sugarcane into ethanol and water. Yeast is able to produce only an ethanol content of about 15%, the rest being water. The product can then be separated by distillation, creating a high percentage of alcohol. Okay, so for the fermentation of sugars to ethanol to occur, there are 4 conditions that must be maintained. Number 1, the sugars being in solution, so this can involve the crushing or mashing of the fruits and grains that are used. Number 2, the temperature being approximately 37 degrees. And number 3, the presence of yeast which contains an enzyme. And in this case, we're using the enzyme zymase, as we mentioned before. Number 4, the exclusion of air, which provides a low oxygen concentration. Once the concentration of ethanol reaches approximately 14 to 15% by volume, the yeast will no longer survive and the fermentation process will cease. A few people in the intro of this video guessed that ethanol was a fuel. They were correct. Many nations are encouraging the use of pure ethanol or ethanol blend fuels. E10, a blend of 10% ethanol and 90% petroleum, is far more common than pure ethanol or E85 in Australia. It is reasonably successful because it increases the fuel's octane rating and acts as an oxygenate, encouraging complete combustion and hence liberating more heat. Brazil and the United States are huge ethanol users, with Brazil producing over 15 billion litres of ethanol every year. Flexible fuel vehicles are becoming increasingly popular. These vehicles run on E85 and are produced by Ford, General Motors, Chrysler and Mazda. Ethanol is greenhouse neutral. Since carbon dioxide is partially responsible for the greenhouse effect, ethanol is an environmentally friendly alternative. By contrast, when fossil fuels are burned, carbon combusts to release carbon dioxide. Increased carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is widely accredited for the global warming phenomenon. Even ethanol blends such as E10 and E85 reduce greenhouse emissions. The distillation process produces large quantities of stinking waste and certain toxins. It is difficult to dispose of these wastes and their effect arguably counteracts other environmental benefits of ethanol. The burning of sugarcane is an air pollutant which can cause respiratory problems or other harm to individuals. Although ethanol has a great deal of potential as a car fuel in the long term, it is not yet an economically viable alternative. The transition stage from petrol to ethanol would be both difficult and costly for consumers, suppliers and the Australian government. Ethanol has little potential as a fuel for the immediate future, but with further research it is possible that ethanol will become the fuel of the future.